Hello and welcome to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. I'm on set with producer Nathaniel Wilson.
Hello, Vermont.
And camera operator Holt Albee. And we're joined by our awesome team in the control room, Joey Palumbo, Kyle Ambus, Dave Rice, and Brian Stevenson. And we want to hear from those of you watching live on YouTube today. We want to know your favorite moment from the Winter Olympic Games. And for those of you listening via radio or podcast, we encourage you to check out our live stream each Monday at 2 p.m. on the Sports Report YouTube channel. Today on the show, we'll check in with two-time Olympic silver medalist Ryan Cochran-Siegle, and our friend reporter Peggy Shinn is back to look back at the games. If you want to hear more about what's happening in Vermont sports, you're in the right place. It's time for the High Five, a segment where we take a look back at 5 of the most important stories in Vermont sports from the last week. Coming in at number 5, Vermont's state dance champions were crowned over the weekend. The varsity teams competed in 3 dance categories at Virgins Union High School, with South Burlington repeating as state pom champs for the 10th year in a row. After 3 straight years of second-place finishes, the Middlebury Tigers captured first place in the hip-hop division, and Mount Mansfield won first place in jazz.
At number 4, Vermont Green FC has named Abby Carcio head coach ahead of the club's first competitive season in the USLW League. Carcio is a former professional player and a standout at Brown University. 2019 FIFA World Cup champion and former U.S. women's national team member Sam Mewis coached the Greens' women's sides during exhibition matches in the last 2 years. She will remain active with the club as an advisor and ambassador.
At number 3, Mac Forehand secured the top score in qualifiers and carried that momentum into the finals to win silver in the men's big air. The second place for Forehand came in at 193.25 for the score. He landed 3 clean runs off the ramp, highlighted by a 2160-degree nose butter triple cork.
And Ben Ogden and Gus Schumacher win Team USA's first ever men's Olympic team medal in the team sprint. This is number 2. The pair took the silver with a time of 18 minutes and 30.35 seconds, which was good enough for just under 1.5 seconds from Team Norway, who got the gold.
And speaking of gold, at number 1, Michaela Schifrin, the Burke Mountain Academy graduate, won gold in the women's slalom final. Schifrin's first Olympic medal since the 2018 Winter Games. Her combined time put her more than a second ahead of Swiss skier Camille Rast, who took the silver. Stay with us for a full interview with 2-time silver medalist, Vermont's own Ryan Cochran-Siegle. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. You know, there were so many great moments during the recent Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina, but one of my favorites was seeing local alpine skier Ryan Cochran-Siegle repeat as the silver medalist in the men's Super G. And we were able to check in with RCS, as he's known, last week during a brief stopover in Vermont before he flew back to Europe to continue the World Cup circuit. Here's our conversation. Ryan, first of all, congratulations on this win. I mean, it's your second Super G silver medal in as many Olympic Games, dating back to Beijing in 2022. Now that you've had a few days to process all this, how are the emotions setting in?
I feel like I'm getting back to normal with everything. It was definitely, I mean, I had dreams of medaling again with the Olympics. I think I was actually more focused on the downhill, seeing that that was kind of my stronger event. And obviously, it worked out in the Super G the way that it did. So I think now that like, obviously, I believed in myself and I knew I was capable. And to have it actually happen again is special. I mean, it's surreal. I think I'm getting used to that, like just kind of like adding that to my, I don't know, accomplishments. But overall, I feel pretty back to normal. I'm back home, getting some good rest, and um, yeah, just enjoying this moment.
I'm glad you're getting a chance to relax. That's you've very well deserved, of course. You probably don't want me bringing this up again. I know it's been brought up before, but people should realize that 4 days before you had that silver medal winning run, you had a bout with food poisoning, right? You got pretty sick there. Did that concern you as far as would I be able to recover in time and run my best race?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was definitely a huge disappointment for the downhill going through that sickness and um, yeah, not being in my like prime state that I wanted to be. Obviously, you work really hard for these days, and you don't know when you're going to get uh, yeah, just a little sickness. So when I think I focused really heavily on my downhill run, and once the downhill run was done, then it was obviously just really figuring out how to, best recover so that I could still perform the way that I wanted to for the Super G. I was planning on doing the team combined, and then based on how my downhill run went and how I was feeling, I mean, Kyle actually won the spot outright. So I think all those things, it kind of did give me the opportunity to rest and recover. And yeah, those next few days, I was kind of building back up, trying to get my body and everything and energy back. And luckily, I mean, by the day the race came around, I was feeling pretty close back to normal. So it all worked out. But yeah, you just have to kind of like recenter. And for me, that was, I mean, just kind of, I was so disappointed from the downhill. And then with the Super G, it was just like, all right, I'm just going to go out and do whatever I can do. And obviously, if I don't medal, if I don't perform well, that's like, that is life. But I think in a way, I think there was a lot of pressure that was released after the downhill, and that helped me.
Yeah, you could just go for it after that. Yeah, run your best race. It's really interesting. You run the Super G. You go third in that race, and that means you had to wait out after that run for what, about 40 other skiers? I mean, is that as agonizing as it sounds to see if they were going to beat your time?
Yeah, it's every racer you kind of wait and see how they're going to be. I mean, getting to see a few of the guys after me too. I'm trying to think who was bib 4 and 5, but I mean, um, I think Franzoni, did Franzoni run early? Anyway, there were just a lot of guys that you kind of got reference of where they were finishing, and they were losing a lot of time in the middle. I mean, Franjo came down and beat me by a little bit, and he was early on in that top group, so I knew that it wasn't a perfect run. But then as each guy kept coming down, I mean, Marco especially, he's probably the best Super G skier in the world right now, and to be, you know, a couple tenths in front of him, yeah, that was kind of when I was like, this could actually happen again. And I was just kind of like standing by myself in the finish area, just trying not to get ahead of myself. And once, I mean, Dom Paris lost his ski, and then Vincent Kriegmeyer, who was also another really strong Super G skier, he was also quite a ways behind the pace. Once those guys came down, it seemed like I had a really good chance of medaling, and then I just didn't know if that'd be silver or bronze. And then just the way the rankings work after bib 20, it was pretty solid, and just how much slower it seemed like the track was getting, that I was pretty safe.
At the time that you and I are speaking, Ryan, there are 19 total medals that the United States has won. Four of those go to people with connections to Vermont or Vermonters. I mean, what does that mean to you? It's kind of special. Two bronze and two silvers already out of the 19.
It's awesome. Yeah, last time around, I think I was the only one with like Vermont ties.
You were that won a medal, yeah.
And yeah, it was definitely a really special moment. And so in these games, knowing, I mean, how well Paula has been skiing, obviously Ben has been kind of developing as a really strong Nordic skier too. And obviously Jessie has been, I mean, she's just one of the greatest American Nordic skiers if not the. So it's just really cool to have all those connections. And that was definitely, I mean, Paul and Ben both medaled the day before the Super G. And seeing, those results and that kind of excitement, I definitely think was like inspiring for myself to be like, I mean, it's awesome that, Vermont's not going home empty handed. And I think it allowed me to kind of like be a little bit, try to put a little bit more on the line to join their cause.
And I had a chance to speak with Ben Ogden after his silver win. He was telling me that he's gotten to know you a little bit recently over the years, even helped your family out with some sugaring, I think, fairly recently. What's it been like to get to know Ben and to share in these accomplishments? Both of you silver medal winners now.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, he is such an amazing guy. Just such a true Vermonter through and through. And yeah, we got to, I think it was 2 springs ago, we were actually pulling tabs together at my cousin's, maple syrup operation. So it's really great to see people that I think beyond athletics are just really, wholesome and true to themselves, be able to perform and receive that type of success. So, and I mean, just also, it's pretty historic for him. I think it's the first men's Nordic medal in 50 something years. So
50 years exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just awesome for the sport. And obviously he's so inspiring for so many people, but yeah, he's an awesome guy. I think he's living in Richmond right now. So close to where our family ski area is. And, no, just, yeah, you love to see that.
You alluded to the symmetry here. I think it's remarkable. There is, Ben becoming the first American male athlete to win in cross country since another Vermonter, Bill Koch, did it in 1976. Of course, Ben, trained with Bill Koch's Youth Ski League. Incredible. And then you win the silver medal 54 years to the day that your mom, Barbara, won gold in Japan. I mean, you can't write this stuff. It's incredible. Have you spoken to your mom about that? What does she say about all this?
Well, I haven't talked to her specifically about the day, but she was there for the Super G in Italy, and we got to share that moment together, just giving her a big hug in the finish. And I think she's just really excited and proud of my accomplishments. But yeah, it's funny how that really ties all this whole thing all together as that connection. And I ski because of my family and kind of bringing me on that path. So yeah, we should probably mark February 11th as a good day in the Cochran family.
A very good one among many. You mentioned, of course, the ski area, the Cochran ski area. And for folks who maybe, just moved to Vermont and aren't quite aware, this is an iconic ski area hill that so many kids, you can speak to almost any Vermonter and they'll say, oh yeah, my kid grew up skiing on Cochran's Hill. My own daughter learned how to do pizza and French fries there when she was wee. I've talked to colleagues at Vermont Public who say they remember you barreling down that hill. No pizza for you. Apparently you went French fries. You went straight down, which is not that surprising. What does that mean to you that, since the early 1960s, that so many Vermonters have built memories at this hill bearing your family's name?
It's such a special place. And I mean, I was over there yesterday. We were just hiking around because the ski area was actually closed for Mondays, but I think there's just such a strong community and presence there, and you can feel it, like even just when you drive up to the parking lot and park your car. That I think, yeah, is just like true Vermont. I mean, it's obviously a small operation, and I think that's what makes it so beautiful is, how involved the community members are in it and how inclusive everyone is. I think we recognize, obviously, winter sports are pretty expensive, and in a state like Vermont, I think financially it's a hard state to get by in at times. So we're just trying to, pass our love for the sport of skiing and snowboarding onto as many people as we can. We try to make it as affordable as we can. And just so that, people can be a part of, the culture of Vermont and the culture of winter sports in Vermont. And whether or not, you become an Olympic skier, I think that's not the point. The point is, finding joy and expressing yourself out in the mountains. And being skilled enough to do that. So I think if there's anyone out there listening right now and you're interested in getting into skiing or snowboarding, please come by to Cochran's because it is a special place. And I think you'll feel, such a strong presence in the community. And it's just a great opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, I would second that, no doubt about it. Well, Ryan Cochran-Siegle, silver medal winner for a second time in the Olympics. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with us on the Sports Report. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Again, it was so great seeing Ryan nab that silver medal, such an amazing moment. You may have noticed, too, a little bit of seeing his dog there at the beginning of that piece. And if you want to see more of his dog, Wrigley, you can check out our Instagram page. We have more of a moment there. The dog is named Wrigley because Ryan's fiance is apparently from Chicago. I'm trying to get him to change the dog's name to Fenway, but so far, no luck with that. Coming up next, freelance Olympics reporter Peggy Shinn makes her return to the show. And if you have questions about the Olympics or any Vermont athletes, maybe you want to share your favorite moment from the games, now's the time to get them into the chat, and we'll be right back with Peggy Shinn. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and I'm here with Nathaniel Wilson and Peggy Shinn. Peggy, great to have you back.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk about the Olympics. I'm kind of sad it's over.
Yeah, I know. This is your wheelhouse. I mean, you have covered 8 Olympic Winter Games before, so you really know what you're talking about. And talking about knowing what you're talking about, we had you on when the Olympics began, right? Remember we asked you for some predictions? Peggy, how many, Vermonters are going to bring home medals? We're kind of putting you on the spot there. Can we go back and see what Peggy predicted? What about some other competitors, or chances for other Vermont athletes?
Well, I think our best medal chances are with Ryan Cochran-Siegle,
Yep.
RCS, Paula Molson, and Schifrin, Michaela Schifrin.
Of course.
In Alpine. I'd like to say we could come home with 5 medals. I'm going to put my money on 5 Olympic medals in Alpine.
I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm overshooting there.
The competition is tough, let's face it.
And then in cross-country skiing, Jessie Diggins, I think she'll win another 3 medals.
Wow.
And then Ben and Gus Schumacher, 1 or 2 medals there.
All right,
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. We're going to hold you to those predictions. Okay, you did pretty good there.
I really wish I'd put money down.
I mean, think about this. A total now of 7 medals came home from athletes with Vermont ties. That is remarkable. You were right about Ryan Cochran-Siegle. You were, I guess, the only one you were kind of wrong about was Jessie Diggins. She got 1 medal, not 3.
It was close, though. She got 5th yesterday, and I think it looked a little bit like she was struggling with her skis in the 50K, but she was so close to the bronze medal, So, and she and Julia Kern is another Vermonter. They were pretty close in the team sprint, too. So,
I mean, just what an amazing showing, though, by Vermont athletes and those with Vermont ties. I mean, 7 medals, that accounts for 33 total medals for the U.S., right? So those 7 accounts for more than 20% of the total U.S. medals won.
Yes,
Remarkable.
and I just wrote a story about this. So over a 5th of the medals. And, the New York Times claimed that, everybody was trying to speculate. And they're like, maybe there's something in the water in Vermont or the snow. Associated Press was like, is it the maple syrup? Which could be because, the Cochran family owns Slopeside Syrup.
They do.
But I think it's more deeply rooted than that. And I just wrote a story that came out on Slate about this. If you look at the culture of Vermont and like what Ryan was just talking about with, Cochran's, there's no child left behind. If you want to ski or snowboard, you show up at Cochran's, and no matter your socioeconomic status, they're going to get you on the snow. And it's kind of that Norwegian concept of joy for all. Like winter Vermont, we're buried in snow for what, 5 or 6 months a year? And rather than resenting it, we have, we welcome it. We embrace it.
You get out there.
And I think what's key is that a lot of these programs, like the Bill Koch League that Ben Ogden came up through, and at Cochran's, a lot of those programs are taught by volunteers. And I learned that Vermont is #1 in the country for non-secular volunteerism. So over 40% of the adults in Vermont volunteer for something. And if you want your kids to get out there, like there's no program, run by some hedge fund or something. It's volunteers. It's parents in puffy coats out there trying to get kids playing in the snow. And, we're not trying to raise Olympians. We're just trying to get our kids to love winter and be happy outdoors. And the fact that we get a Ben Ogden or a Jesse didn't grow up here, but a Ryan Cochran-Siegle, those are just a happy consequence of us embracing winter.
Yeah, and that's very much what Ryan was saying in our interview. We're not expecting you to produce an Olympic athlete. It's just important to get out there, embrace the winter. That old saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, just inadequate clothing. Vermonters do embrace that. And I think that your research into that and uncovering those volunteer efforts and things like that is such a better answer than saying, oh, it must be the maple syrup. Listen, our maple syrup's great. We know that. But, that's not why we're producing these great athletes.
That's true, yes. And then we have the ski academies, so we get Michaela Schifrin and Jessie Diggins, who came in to, hone their skills. And Jessie came in right after she graduated from high school to train with the Stratton Mountain program. And down there in Stratton, Sverry Caldwell, back in the 80s, started trying to make a sort of a cross-country incubator where kids could start in the Bill Koch League, with volunteers. And the good kids who wanted to pursue it could go to Stratton Mountain School for high school. And then after college, or if they were really good out of high school, they could stay and be on a pro team. So there's a lot of little, and Craftsbury Outdoor Center does that too. So there's these little hotbeds of, people trying to get kids on skis and then take the good ones who want to pursue it and really give them an avenue to excel.
Well, it's just a great moment of pride for Vermont to see these athletes come home with these medals. And, in particular, there were some that I saw. I'm curious about some of, the things that gave you the wow moment. I mean, Ben Ogden's race in the individual cross-country sprint was one for me. I was thrilled with that. When he got into second place and held it there, and I talked to him about that. He said, I was not going to give that up. There was no way. And he had made mention that, in the past, people had passed him on those last legs of it. But he went all out, and he did it. He made it happen.
And the team sprint, when it was Ben and Gus Schumacher, I was a little worried. Gus had been having a tough Olympics. He expressed disappointment that he wasn't the guy to win the first medal in 50 years for the U.S. men, and he was paired up with his best friend. Right. And I was at a watch party at 5:30 in the morning in Richmond, and there were probably 60 people in one small room. And when it became clear, when Ben tagged off to Gus for that final lap, that Ben had put him in position, had put him in silver medal position, and Gus said he locked in on Clabo's butt and he wasn't letting it go. And that room was, I had to cover my ears. It was deafening. The people in Richmond were so excited.
And when you say Clabo's butt, we should be clear, we're talking about Johannes Clabo,
yes,
the wonderful Norwegian skier who won how many golds?
6 gold medals, more. So he's kind of the Michael Phelps of the Winter Olympics now.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that all? I want to make mention too of I watched this. I was lucky enough to watch this live as it happened, and only because it was delayed. I would have missed it. That's not the important point, but Mac forehand in the big air competition. Oh my gosh, Nathaniel, did you see any of that as well?
I did. I watched that. I watched the qualifiers and the final live.
I mean, when we spoke with him before, he went over there, before it started, I thought, okay, this is a self-assured young man. I don't know much about the sport. Maybe he's got a chance here. But he was very close to winning gold. The only reason he didn't capture gold, he was in the lead. He had the gold, and the last run by, I guess, the Norwegian skier was just enough to put him over the top. But the things he did out there, and to debut sort of a new trick in a way that the judges hadn't seen before, remarkable, unreal. The sky's the limit for this kid.
I know, and they take off backwards, they land backwards. I mean, it looks like they're going off one of those gigantic ski jumps in Lake Placid. I mean, my heart was in my throat watching him.
How do you practice that? That's what I always wonder. Like, it looks so dangerous. They make it look so easy. But to get to that point where you can just, like automatically do a triple, whatever they called it, the nose butter cork. I can't repeat it. But it's just remarkable to me that you can even get to that point. And here he is only 24 years old.
Yeah, I first interviewed him when he was 17, and he was kind of a shy kid and, wondering why somebody in the media was trying to talk to him at World Championships. But, he's been coming along for a while. And, the family moved up to Stratton when he was 11 years old because he showed a lot of talent.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned the watch party, too, Peggy, that in Richmond. What were you saying that folks are saying now they should rename the town?
Oh, so Ryan is from, well, he's not, he's from Starksboro, but, the family connection to Richmond.
Yeah.
And Ben Ogden bought a house in Richmond, so they're joking they should rename Richmond to Silverton.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
What about some other Vermonters you feel like deserve to be remembered, highlighted from these games?
So about an hour after Ben and Gus won the silver medal in the team sprint, Michaela Schifrin, oh my gosh, second run of slalom. My heart was in my throat. And one of the best headlines I read was, Michaela won, whew! And I think all of us were so thrilled. Like everybody just let out a collective exhale of relief.
And is that just because, maybe the Olympics hasn't been her best venue? Is that why?
I think so. And everybody loves Michaela. She's such a human athlete. She's very honest about how she feels. She's the best athlete in the world. And she's the greatest of all time. And yet she's like the Tom Brady of skiing. Yet she's willing to bare her soul and tell people what she's anxious about, that she has PTSD after coming back from a crash. So I think we all, even though we can't ski like her, I think we all see a little bit of ourselves in her. And I don't know anybody who doesn't love Michaela. And to know she'd been having a tough Olympics and coming off of the Beijing Games where she didn't win a medal in 6 races, I think everybody just wanted her so badly to win a medal, and she finally did. So it was like, whoo, okay.
Incredible. And then, go ahead.
So another one of my favorite moments was Alana Myers-Taylor in the women's monobob, which is a new event that debuted in the Beijing Games. It's just, instead of, a bobsled driver and some brake men or women, it's just the bobsled driver. So she has to drive and brake. And she has been, this was her 5th Olympics. She had won 5 medals, but none of them gold. And she was sitting in silver medal position in the monobob, and the Germans rule bobsled. They're like, I can't make an analogy, but
like Norwegians maybe with cross country,
yes, and they rule bobsled. So there's this German woman coming down behind her, and the German woman messed up, and Alana won gold. And to see her collapse on the podium just in sheer the joy, you could feel how emotional it was. And she's 41 years old now. She's got 2 little boys who are both deaf.
Remarkable.
And she's the nicest person. And just to see her win was just warmed my heart.
41 years old?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And now an Olympic gold champion.
Yeah.
That is really incredible. Other moments at the games. It doesn't have to be, Vermonters. Nathaniel, was there anything that really captured your attention?
I do want to talk about the figure skating at some point, but I think we do have a couple other Vermonters that we have not talked about. Yes, we have not hit on Paula Moltzen yet. I feel like we should go there before.
So unfortunate that I forgot that. Of course, Paula Moltzen, the great NCAA champion, former UVM standout, she wins bronze. She
won bronze. And that was, the team combined. Breezy Johnson was teamed with Michaela, and Breezy had won the downhill. So Michaela, everybody thought oh my gosh, she's going to win the gold medal. But Michaela had a really tough time on that slope. She didn't understand, she wasn't understanding the snow. It's a little bit flat for her. And then Jackie Wiles was the downhill skier paired with Paula. And Jackie had finished 4th in the downhill. And she'd also finished 4th in the downhill, the real downhill, back on the previous couple days earlier. And so when Michaela, I don't want to say messed up, but had a slower run and bumped those guys off the stand, that was disappointing. But oh my gosh, it was so exciting that Paula and Jackie could win the bronze medal. I mean, that was so heartwarming as well.
And now I can bring that medal back to Waitsfield, where she just got a home now. So there's so many Vermonters. I love the fact that they're setting up shop here. Julia Kern, now living in Richmond, right?
And I asked Paula, why did you buy a house in, you're from Minnesota. You went to UVM. Why did you buy a house in Vermont? What is it about Vermont? And she just said, Vermont is the best state in the entire 50 states. I was like, all right.
Okay, you heard it here first. That's fantastic. I don't want to forget any others. Did we forget any other Vermonters over?
Jessie Diggins?
Oh, well, okay. Now, again, technically not a Vermonter, but trained at Stratton Mountain School and credits Stratton Mountain School with much of her success.
And she owns a condo there, so she's a Vermonter.
I
She pays
didn't know
property
that.
taxes in Vermont
Absolutely.
since 2012. So, I think people were coming into the Olympics. She was expecting more medals, but she fell in that first race, the skiathlon. I think the temperatures were a lot warmer in Val d'Fiemme than people expected. Typically, when they race there in January, it's much colder. It's a much drier snow. This time, it looked like the beach, honestly. The sun was out a lot. You could see how slushy the snow was. And the Scandinavians tend to excel in those conditions. They've got the grind figured out. And the grind is like the tire tread on the bottom of your skis. They just have it a little bit better figured out than everybody else. Anyway, so poor Jessie crashed and bruised her rib really badly. And I don't know if you've ever bruised a rib, but it's incredibly painful.
Oh, it's hard to even move. Slight movements will send shooting pains through your body, yes.
Yeah, so I think she was a favorite to win that 10-kilometer freestyle race. That's her best distance. It's her best event. And, the fact that she could get across the line having a hard time breathing in third place. Right. Oh, my gosh. I was super disappointed, though, that she and Julia were unable to win a medal in the team sprint. But,
that was we were hoping to get that. You can't have everything. But put this into perspective, too, on Jessie Diggins' career, because as I understand it, this was her final Olympics, right?
It's her final Olympics. So she has won 4 Olympic medals, gold, silver, and 2 bronzes, which... Holy cow. I mean, the U.S. didn't have any medals in cross-country skiing, just one for Bill Koch until 2018. And now to go home with 4 medals, I mean, how many Olympians get to do that? It's amazing.
And she's really put her print on the sport of cross-country. I mean, she's got to be one of the most decorated cross-country skiers in history.
Yes, and, Ryan was talking about the joy, bringing the joy of skiing in. And I think we saw a lot of joy at this Olympics. I mean, Alyssa Liu, you're going to talk about that. Nathaniel's going to talk about her. But Jessie brings joy to cross-country skiing with the glitter and the fun the fun socks, the teamwork. So I think we need to see more joy in sports and less, like people crying that they didn't win a gold medal.
Yeah, I'm with you there because, you did see a lot of that heartbreak, let's say, in the figure skating, and I understand it. You work so hard. I don't think people necessarily realize just how much time and effort and just the painful practices over and over again. And then if you get out there for your moment and something goes wrong, and we saw that with the figure skater known as the quad god, right? Everyone expected him to sweep gold, and he has these horrific crashes on the ice at the worst possible moment. So I think you're right, bringing that joy to these games and realizing that these athletes are so special. They're doing something that so many other folks just can't do. We should celebrate those accomplishments that even got them to that point.
Yeah, the ones who don't, you just want to give those poor kids or athletes a hug,
Mm-hmm. No question about it. And we've got some folks commenting in the chat, Nathaniel, apparently, which is great.
Yes. We have been sourcing people's favorite moments from the Winter Olympic Games, and there's a lot of hockey love in the chat. We'll get to hockey in a little bit here, but also I'm seeing shout-outs for Alyssa Liu and Michaela Schifrin. Brendan Kinney says, it feels like Vermont has the most Winter Olympians per capita, but then again, we come out on top of most per capita lists. I think that's true.
That's fair, Brendan. Good point. Yeah, if you want to join the chat, folks, we've got time. Get in there on the chat. We are live on YouTube. We're talking sports, favorite moments from the Olympics. Nathaniel, you had talked about Alyssa Liu being one of your favorite athletes at these games.
Yeah, I watched it was the women's free skate program that was late last week. And not just Alyssa Liu, but the other medaling athletes as well. So Kaori Sakamoto and Ami Nakai, both of Japan. And so it was U.S. got the gold, and we had 2 Japanese figure skaters that got the bronze and silver. And I just thought that the competition was so strong. Yeah. The scores were so high. I was thinking of it also when you guys were talking about Mac forehand and watching that live, and the way the commentator was saying, this is the best big air competition I have ever seen. And I feel like that is what excites me most about the Olympics, is not only the biggest stage, but an opportunity to perform at the highest level. One opportunity to do it, and doing it is the thing that I just think is so fascinating, and the pressure that goes into that. And so I think pressure was such a big part of the discourse cycle and the media cycle around Alyssa Liu specifically in the Olympics, because she was a really competent young figure skater who took some time away from the sport and came back. And they talked about how like leaving and coming back gave her the ability to just skate without anxiety, without pressure, without fear. And she had so much fun. They had so much fun during the women's free final. And so I had a lot of fun at home watching it.
Yeah, I think it translates. And I think the closeness of, especially the women's skaters, they seem to be, there wasn't a lot of rivalry there. They seemed to be a very, very close-knit group. They were all cheering each other on. Of course, they all want to individually, get gold or silver or bronze. But they seemed like they understood that they have this cohort amongst themselves where they need to support each other, and that buoys them all at the end of the day.
And I think we are moving away from that kind of mean girl teamwork that we used to have, and people
Nancy
are
Kerrigan,
much more,
Tonya Harding, that kind of vibe.
And much more, your success is my success, and people are, happy when somebody else wins, and I think that's we're moving toward a better place. But one athlete who was able to stand up to the pressure was the real quad god, Jordan Stoltz. Holy cow, 2 golds in speed skating and a silver.
Yeah,
he
it's
really
remarkable.
Stood up to the pressure there. I was impressed with his performances as well.
Anybody else wonder how in the world they keep those edges around those turns? I do not understand the physics of how they can do that. It is so remarkable.
Yeah, in that sport and in the figure skating, there's just like the gliding that happens. And in the speed skating, it's so cool. They go from the one leg to the other. Obviously, that's how you move forward. But it's like they're floating. They're flying almost. They seem so lightweight on the ice. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's been an incredible games. I mean, the winter games I always pay a lot of attention to. Some people prefer the summer games, and those are great too. But I thought that the moments of joy, as you were saying, of course, the Vermont accomplishments, and then some of the things that have never been seen before, the 6 golds by Klobold, that stuff. You don't see that every day.
No, and then, another athlete who, like Alana Myers-Taylor, Alex Ferreira, in the skiing halfpipe, this was his 3rd or 4th Olympics. He'd won a silver and a bronze before, and he finally won gold. I mean, to see them pushing the limit and then being able to finally achieve their gold and see their satisfaction and joy is something I'm going to miss. I mean, when we have to go back to trying to find something on Netflix now at night to watch.
Regular life, resuming.
Yeah.
Mitch, I think we have made the people wait long enough, and they want to hear about your favorite moment in the Olympics, which was the hockey, yes?
It was. I am an absolute huge hockey fan. I could not believe that it came down to these 2 incredible epic games between the U.S. men and the U.S. women, both playing Canada. I do have some thoughts on that. Back in the day, Nathaniel, when I was doing the sports report on Vermont Public, I would sometimes, have these thoughts about what happened. And I want to just take a moment here. I'm going to even shift the microphone a little bit and let folks know, because this mattered to me, and I have thoughts about hockey. So 2 of the most epic international hockey games ever were played in these Olympics. U.S. versus Canada, men's and women's gold medal finals. Now, I'd like to take a moment to send this message to any Canadian fans who might be watching or listening. And if you are, please let us know in the chat. Maybe you're not. Maybe I'm talking into the void. But share your thoughts on either or both of these games. I have been a passionate hockey fan ever since I started playing street hockey as a little kid in Framingham, Massachusetts. Back then, every kid playing on the street wanted one thing: to be Bobby Orr. For my money, still the greatest player in the game's history. With all due respect to the one they called the great one, Wayne Gretzky, that's a debate for another time. But while we identified number 4 as the heart and soul of the Boston Bruins, we were less aware of his roots growing up in Parry Sound, Ontario. Orr was first and foremost a son of Canada. And look, I will briefly mention the elephant in the room that is the recent chilly geopolitical relationship between our 2 nations, countries that have for so long been such staunch allies. And because of that, find things like a hockey game taking on greater national cultural significance now. I know that both losses in the men's and women's finals were as devastating for Canadian fans as they were joyous for their American counterparts. Hockey is a fast, tough, beautiful, but often heartbreaking game. And 2 losses in sudden death overtime, each in games that easily could have gone either way, will weigh heavily on fans whose national identity is linked to the rink. My message to any Canadian fan is this: as best you can, ignore the social media taunts, the memes, and the petty one-upmanship from powerful people in government who don't even know offsides from icing, but feel like the outcome of these games gives them a green light to throw shade. The truth is, the players who made hockey what it is today, who created the foundations for the generation of American skaters who are taking home gold medals now, are Canada's own. Whether that's Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Marie-Philippe Poulin, or Haley Wickenheiser, hockey has been born, bred, and brought up Canadian. And as thrilled as I was to see the U.S. men win gold for the first time since the Miracle on Ice 46 years to the day it happened, and as much as I jumped out of my seat when Megan Keller pulled off that amazing inside-out deke before scoring the overtime winner that gave the U.S. women the win, I felt an equal measure of regret that it came at the expense of such great competitors and with such crushing feelings of loss for Canadian fans. The point is that any real hockey fan should revel in the exceptional play displayed in both games. I have nothing but respect and admiration for Canada and for the passion Canadian hockey fans have for their sport. It still is and always be your game, Canada, no matter what colored medal the players wear after the final whistle. We'll be right back with some more Olympics talk, and we're going to look ahead to the World Cup cross-country skiing championships, the finals in Lake Placid. This is the Sports Report. Welcome back to the Sports Report. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and I'm here with Nathaniel Wilson and Peggy Shinn as we continue to wrap up our talk about the Olympics. And anything else you want to talk about, if you want to get in on the chat, we've got time to do that. You're watching live on YouTube. So, yeah, I was talking about the hockey there before the break. Peggy, I know that you were able to watch that game, the men's final.
I was, and I was hoping with your love of hockey, because I don't watch hockey that often, if you can explain the puck work and stick work that Matt Boldy did before he scored that goal. That was amazing.
I will explain that to the best that I can. Okay. You're talking about Matt Boldy, who plays, he's a forward for the Minnesota Wild. He was a Massachusetts kid, though. Grew up in Massachusetts, played his hockey at Boston College. Terrific player. The play you're talking about was the first goal of the game. The U.S. scored to lead 1-0. He was coming across the blue line with two defenders on him. Two very good defenders, okay? These are the best of the best. He was able to flick the puck up to himself, and then, while it was in the air, tap it again, kind of juggle it forward so that he could skate into that puck, get through the two defenders. He collects that puck then on his stick after juggling in midair, mind you, skates in alone on the goalie, Jordan Binnington, goes 5-hole for the goal. It was gorgeous. This is why I get so excited when I talk about hockey. I tell people, you've got to watch this sport to realize what these athletes are doing with the speed, the strength, and the skill that it takes, and doing it all on skates and ice and manipulating this little disc on a stick. It's incredible. So I'm glad you noted that goal, and it was pretty amazing.
Was he like practicing that as a kid on the backyard, like juggling a puck with his stick? It was amazing.
More than likely, but I'll tell you, in the moment, that was all spontaneous. That was all ad-libbing like a good improv comedian would do. You saw that too, right?
I missed the men's game. I watched the women's game, and
the women's game was incredible.
Similarly to Peggy, felt blown away by the game-winning goal in the women's gold medal match.
That's what I referred to in that essay.
Shout-outs about that one as well. But yeah, that
amazing.
Just crossed her over.
Inside
basically.
Out,
yeah.
right. I mean,
it was like the
you're a basketball fan, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like the crossover move when you say like it sort of breaks somebody's ankle or something in basketball, right? That's the hockey equivalent that Megan Keller did.
Yes.
Incredible. I thought Both games were so amazing. Like, these were terrific examples of what hockey can be played at the highest levels. I understand that some folks in the chat were saying that they're not necessarily crazy about who got the MVP of that game.
Yeah, so Connor McDavid, the star for Canada, was given the tournament MVP following the gold medal match that the U.S. won and Canada took silver. And people are saying the wrong Connor got the MVP. What do you think, Mitch?
I mean, I have to agree with that. Look, Connor McDavid is simply the best hockey player on the planet at the moment. When he gets the puck, I mentioned this earlier, he looks like he's already 2-3 strides ahead of the player closest to him. He's that fast, he's that good, he's that skilled. But Canada did lose the game. I thought Connor Hellebuck, the U.S. goalie, is the guy who should have got the MVP. He made some saves that were just, they blow your mind. You know, there was one that looked like a sure goal, and all the Canadian team player had to do was to sort of tap it into this open net, but Hellebuck got his stick in the way just in time and was able to knock that out. So I would agree there that Connor Hellebuck should have been the MVP of that series.
And then the other part of this that I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on, I think a lot of the story to come out of the U.S. win has to do with the involvement of certain U.S. federal officials taking part in the celebration.
Yeah.
Kash Patel, the FBI director, was in the locker room after the game, and I saw a video online after the game that was Patel had President Trump on the phone and was talking to the players. And from my perspective, I thought that Trump seemed to kind of make fun of the gold medal winning women's team in his phone call with the men's team, which I thought was just bad.
Was that him making a joke about, like, oh, we'll have to invite the women to the White House too? Is that what he said?
So the State of the Union is coming up pretty soon, and he was on the phone with the men's team saying, we're going to fly you out. We're going to have you for the State of the Union. I want to shake all your hands. And then he says, oh, and guys, we'll have to invite the women's team too. And they all just erupted in laughter. And I thought that the moment really lacked tact. And I think we live in a time still where women's sports and women's professional sports are becoming so much more of a thing. And they are finally, I think, being recognized with an amount of importance that they are completely deserving of.
Yep.
And I think we on this show are so we're very much wanting to discuss and highlight and talk about women's sports because it is sport at the end of the day, just the same that men's is. And
absolutely.
The women's gold medal is a Olympic gold medal just the way that the men's is. And so I just wanted to bring that up and say that it was a disappointing moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well said, Nathaniel.
And I'd like to point out that of the 12 gold medals won, which is more than the U.S. has ever won at a Winter Olympics, most of them were won by women.
Yeah, they were.
So
yeah.
Take that.
And look, if you were watching that women's final, as you were, Nathaniel, you saw that game, you cannot argue that the level of that play was as extraordinary and high level as any you're going to get, men's or women's. The game was incredible. You were riveted because you're watching athletes at the top of their game playing a sport that is so difficult to play. I just thought it was absolutely remarkable, and your point is well taken. And again, we could all use a little more joy and respect, I think, in the world of sports. We've got about 5 minutes left here, Peggy, Shinn, and I want to ask you about what's coming up next month in Lake Placid, because the skiing championships don't stop here. What's happening just across the way there next month?
So now the skiers pretty much stay in Europe to finish out the World Cup season, both the Alpine and the Nordic cross country. And in Lake Placid on March 20th, 21st, and 22nd, we have the World Cup finals coming to Lake Placid. And that's going to be a great opportunity to get autographs from Jesse and Ben Ogden and, Julia and all the rest of the team. And you can go to mountvanhoevenberg.com and get tickets right now. I think it's going to be a great show. The Mount Van Hoevenberg complex they redid 4 or 5 years ago, and it's beautiful. There's a beautiful lodge, comfortable place to hang out, and it's going to be hopefully the weather will be good, but, hanging out on the beach and seeing your favorite Olympic stars. So I would encourage people to get tickets and come over. It's just, it's 2 hours from where I live in Rutland, and I don't know, an hour and a half from
That's about
Burlington?
It. Right across the way. It's a former Olympic venue itself. And to your point, the athletes will probably be more approachable there than they would be, at the Olympic Games themselves.
Right. It's the end of the season, so they'll be really happy to connect with fans.
Yeah.
And Peggy, was I correct in seeing that this is going to be Jessie Diggins' last career race, and then she's hanging up the skis?
It will be. It'll be her last 3 races. So if you want to It'll be historic. So come watch Jessie race. Yeah, I'm sure she'll put on a good show.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. Can I ask one more thing about the Olympics? Because I almost forgot about this, but I have to ask both your opinions. You know how when they give out the medals this year, they were also giving out these little stuffed animals to everybody, these little stuffies, you know? I know they give them to both the losers and the winners, but honestly, if I'm, for example, one of the Canadian men's hockey players, and I'm getting the silver medal, which I don't want anyway, because when it comes to that, when it comes to the hockey, it was gold or nothing for the U.S. men and the Canadian men. So poor Nathan McKinnon, who missed, by the way, a wide open net during that men's final that would have put Canada up 2-1. He's one of the greatest players in the world, but he was sick about that and will be for a long time. They hand him this little stuffy with the silver medal, and you could tell, watch it, he looked like he wanted to tear the thing in half. I probably would have put it in my mouth and eaten it. I don't know why they have to do this.
Dog toy.
Dog toy, okay, give it to the dogs.
I guess I have an example that's kind of the opposite. Okay, so back to the women's free skate in figure skating. There was a moment that kind of went viral after, and so it was the three athletes on the podium, and Alyssa Liu was up there, and she was kind of struggling to figure out how to hang the stuffed animal on her medal for the picture, and Sakamoto, the Japanese figure skater who came in second, fixed it for her and attached it before they went on the podium. And so I've seen that kind of floating around online, and as I think another moment that kind of highlights the joy and the happiness that can come in.
And the cooperation.
Well. Yeah, exactly.
We're all things together.
Every Olympics, they give them the medal, and then they give them something, and nobody can figure out what they're getting. In Paris, it looked like they were being handed a poster. Like, I mean, I guess it's nice to have a token, but I don't know, put it in the welcome package.
Yes, I agree with you. You get your bag of swag afterwards.
Yeah.
We don't need to see those awkward moments where you're getting the stuffy on the podium. You just don't, you don't want it anyway. Well, listen, Peggy, Shinn, thank you so much for, previewing these games for us, number one, coming here today, wrapping it up all in perspective for us. I just think you're doing such a remarkable job in explaining what these sports are about and how Vermonters are so tied to these sports too.
Well, thank you. I've really had fun chatting with you and Nathaniel. So anytime, hopefully before the next Olympics.
We're going to hold you to that, Peggy, Shinn. Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning into the Sports Report. If you missed any of today's show, you can find it on our YouTube channel. You can also catch the show on Vermont Public Radio on Monday nights at 8 o'clock. It is also available where you get your podcasts. Find out more about the show and how to get in touch with us at vermontpublic.org/sports. The Sports Report is a production of Vermont Public, produced by Nathaniel Wilson. The technical director is Joey Palumbo, with Kyle Embisk on graphics, Holt Albee on cameras, and video production assistance from Dave Rice and Brian Stevenson. Our audio engineer is Peter Engish. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, your host for this program that's all about the world of sports in Vermont and beyond. Thanks so much for watching. Tune in next week.